Good morning. Good morning, distinguished guests and those who are interested in participating in this event. Today is the second day of Startup Innovation Thailand Expo 2023 or SITE 2023. And for those who are watching online, you will be able to listen to interesting information about innovation for these 3 days. And we are now at the main stage. And for those who are at the event at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center, please come forward to take a seat in front of the main stage. And for the second day of the event, we will begin with the topic of a country which is considered as the most creative innovation country in the world. For those who are interested in listening to the interesting aspects of Switzerland, you can move forward to take a seat in front of the main stage, and you will hear in a few minutes from the speaker.
Or Startup Innovation Thailand Expo 2023. My name is Gwang Kim Jara. It is my great honor to be a host for this fantastic session. It is morning session that we are going to begin our biggest and greatest innovation exhibition and a startup networking event right here. We are going to share you the most incredible session about the Switzerland, the most creative innovation country in the world. And once again, I would like to remind for all of our exhibitors and also the visitors, if you are interested to hear this session, please, you are all invited and you can have a seat right in front of this main stage right now. So now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we are going to begin the first session, the most creative innovation country in the world, Switzerland. And of course, today we have an honor to welcome the Ambassador of Switzerland to Thailand. Could you please give a big round of applause to welcome His Excellency Mr. Pedro Schwalen, please. ขอเสียงปรบมือนะคะให้กับท่านทูตนะคะ
Please give a round of applause to the ambassador who will share his experience.
สวัสดีครับ Good morning. I'm very happy to see all these young people. Dear Director, distinguished guests, good morning. My name is Pedro Schwalen. I am the Ambassador of Switzerland to the Kingdom of Thailand, the Kingdom of Cambodia, and the Lao People's Democratic Republic. I have arrived in Bangkok last November, and before that, I was Ambassador to Australia. It is a pleasure and honor to speak here for me. I would like to thank the National Innovation Agency for its kind invitation. Research and innovation are key ambitions, both in Switzerland and Thailand. Both of our countries understand the importance of promoting R&D and innovation to further enhance our prosperity. However, based on geography, history, culture, and other factors, the approach can be very different from country to country. You have to adapt your strategy to the conditions you find in your country. So, to present the Swiss case, let me start with a few facts and statistics internationally. 4. Let's go for 4. The Global Innovation Index has ranked Switzerland to be the most innovative country in the world for 12 consecutive years, or the number 1. In addition, Switzerland has been ranking persistently among the top 5 of the Global Competitiveness Index. So it's most competitive when it comes to comparing with other actors on the world stage. With 1,301 patients application per million inhabitants in 2022, the country continues to rank first worldwide in terms of patent applications per capita. The patent means you find an innovation, you invent something, then you want to patent your idea. And when there are more patents in a country per capita, obviously it is more innovative. So even there, Switzerland ranks top. And finally, the GDP per capita in Switzerland is either the highest or one of the top 3 highest in the world, depending on the statistics. Ladies and gentlemen, so is there a recipe which the Swiss ambassador could proudly present here for the cooks in Thailand? Handling a recipe would presuppose that there is a cook, for example, a government. And in that sense, the answer, unfortunately, must be no. To make that point unmistakably clear, the previous Swiss State Secretary for Education, Research and Innovation once said, I quote, "Switzerland is so innovative because it does not have an innovation policy." That sounds strange, huh? The Swiss success, however, is not based on top-down government intervention, telling people what to do and how to invent, but it is rather based on a multitude of factors which are allowed to work bottom-up, thanks to innovation-friendly framework conditions which enable the system to flourish on its own. So government has to set the conditions, and then it is the private actors that can work in that framework. Switzerland benefits from a closely knit domestic ecosystem of publicly funded fundamental research, private sector research and development, top-class universities, a highly qualified workforce, and a strong intellectual property protection. That system encourages cooperation in the broadest possible way, especially in international research, in innovation networks and processes. I will now pinpoint a few simple geographic and historic conditions that led Switzerland grow to become such an innovative country over the last 200 years, let's say. Secondly, I will briefly describe the principles of the Swiss political and economic system and framework. Third, I will characterize its most important pillar, the public education system. Finally, I will get to the interaction of this public system with industries and the private sector. First, geography. Switzerland is a medium-sized European country and densely populated today. It has very limited natural resources, with one exception. We have abundant water flowing down from the mountains. The affluence of this resource, flowing water, has greatly influenced the path of innovation our country has undertaken. Indeed, as the Industrial Revolution defined the new rules of international trade 200 years ago, we could not rely on exporting raw materials to fuel our export business. We did not have any coal, gas, gold, or wheat or rice to export, but we did have the so-called white coal. The big difference, when you produce energy from water, with a water mill, with turbines, it could not be exported at the time. It could only be used inside the country. So we had to make intelligent use of this power domestically. And this is how we realized early on that we needed to produce high value-added products in order to prosper. We couldn't export the water, we need to make something out of that energy first. So water was the energy we could use, and it became the driving force of our industries. Water wheels powered textile firms before there was electricity, and the water of the rivers was then used to dye the assembled products in different colors. Now, to improve these colors artificially, 150 years ago, we needed chemistry. So this is how Switzerland's pharmaceutical sector was actually triggered to develop. And that sector today is our largest export industry. 57% of the domestic electricity production in Switzerland, so nearly 2/3, still comes from hydropower today. It is therefore our largest source of renewable energy. What are the principles of the framework that allows Swiss companies to develop in a prosperous way? Swiss companies tend to stay top on new trends, technologies, and consumer needs. So I come to my second point, the framework of the political system. The Swiss political system is unique, and some of its principles are essential to guarantee the country's innovation-friendly network. Our government is only involved where it is needed. So it is lean, but extremely fit. Allow me to explain by describing two fundamental principles of that system: subsidiarity and the liberal economy. Subsidiarity in our political system means that every task and responsibility is fulfilled on the lowest and most local possible level. In Switzerland, there are one confederation, 26 cantons, which are the regional states, and about 2,300 municipalities, the villages, the cities, etc. The 26 cantons, the federal states, will not intervene with their municipalities unless it is necessary. And the Confederation of Switzerland will not intervene with the cantons unless it is necessary or asked for. So the autonomy of cantons and municipalities extends even to the levying of taxes. So when I'm in Switzerland, for example, the biggest share of the tax I have to pay, it goes to the canton, not to the Confederation. And the second goes then to the Confederation, a smaller share, and then the smallest goes to the municipality. If the municipality wants to construct a new road, for instance, then the municipality has to decide whether they want to levy the taxes necessary or not. If the public says, the population says in a vote, we do not want to levy taxes, then you cannot get a new street. And this is on the municipal level. So on all these levels, it plays like that. The entity of in every level can decide autonomously about raising or lowering the taxes according to the needs discussed and decided on the very same level. So the cantons have clear constitutional areas of responsibility, notably in education and in health, and they have to raise their own taxes on their own territory to pay for the services they provide. This provides for a clear sense of accountability and ownership. If I'm from the canton of Bern, I say, okay, this is ours. We are responsible to invest it correctly. Apart from the two Federal Institute of Technologies, the EPFL and the ETH, all 10 Swiss universities and the 7 universities of applied sciences are cantonal universities. It's not the Confederation steering them, governing them, funding them. It's the cantons. This makes people feel proud of their own university in their region, Bern, Zurich, Fribourg, whatever, and it strengthens the local political will to assure adequate funding. Second principle, the principle of non-intervention unless necessary in the federal political system is valid for the economy as well. So the Swiss government does not get involved into the economy unless it is necessary. It's only the framework conditions which are set. Companies shall have the maximum of autonomy when developing their business. An innovation policy intervening into the activity of private economy would fundamentally contradict that principle. So the highly autonomous political structure and the liberal principle of the economy provide for a third important framework condition: stability. Stability allows companies to plan ahead and to make long-term investment decisions such as research and development without having to fear constant rule changes. The Swiss political system, to change the rules, to get new rules, with its many popular votes we have, decisions on all three levels, it is slow. It is a slow system to change the framework. But because the government is slow, it is stable. And this is what allows the innovators in that framework to be fast and flexible. I come to my third point, an area where the Swiss government indeed does intervene and which is important for young people in particular, our education system. If our former state secretary said, whom I quoted before, that Switzerland has no innovation policy, he obviously referred to the lack of state intervention. He did not refer, however, to the following public task: education. The key factor of Swiss innovation capacity is an exceptionally strong public education system. I've gone to a public school, from the primary school right to university, no private schools. In Switzerland, you have nearly no private schools for Swiss citizens. So on the primary level, public schools ensure that children from all parts of society, wealthy or less wealthy, urban or rural, are effectively encouraged to develop their skills to the best possible use. Private schools are rare and mostly cater for wealthy foreigners. So we do have private schools in Switzerland, but it's mostly for foreigners. And this egalitarianism in the Swiss society values merit over descent and arguably leads to the best selection of talents. So if there is a very gifted young boy in a village somewhere, he will find a public school where he can develop his talents as well, and he might end up very high up because he was the most smart in that school. This is a system which aims for fairness and to give every citizen a chance. Compulsory 9 years of school, a very typical Swiss factor comes into play. This is something new now. The vocational and professional education and training in Switzerland. What does that mean? It means that people get out of school, can get out of school, young people when they're 16 years old, after 9 years at school or 10 years at school, and join a company. And they have a professional training there, which is based on a specific economic culture and on a diverse, strong network of educational institutions. 2/3 of young people actually in Switzerland around the age of 16, when they come out of the compulsory education, so they must go to school 9 years, they enroll in vocational education and training. So this is not a high school, this is not a college, this is not a university. They choose a professional occupation, around 240 professional diploma there are in Switzerland to be chosen from. It can be electrician, robotics, of course, all the financial sector, also financial administration, etc. So that ranges from commercial employee, electrician and cook, to IT technician, automotive mechanic, and carpenter. So that sector forms the basic for lifelong learning and opens up a wealth of job prospects. To give you a concrete example of what that means, how that looks like. A 16-year-old can decide to do an apprenticeship as an electrician or as a robotics specialist, for instance. She or he will then be embedded in a host company and train on the job during 3 or 4 years. Mostly when it's technical, it's for 4 years. So under the week, 4 days of the week, that student will work in the company. Once in the sector of production, then they learn to know this machine, then they know to work on the other machine, then they know to work in the office, etc. 3 to 4 years. And only 1 day per week, that student goes to school in parallel, part-time, to acquire theoretical knowledge as well required for the job. These young people, they even receive a salary. So because they're working the 4 days a week and they're very proud of it, because their colleagues going to high school, they have no salary. So when they're then 20 years old, they're very specialized, proud electrician, for instance, to stick to the example. And the professionals coming out of such a system, when they have their diploma at the age of 18 or 19, they are young professionals, they're highly qualified, creative and proud, motivated to develop their special skills to perfection. They are very innovative in a very practical manner, but they're very innovative people. And that workforce, when they then come to the companies, will then combine and intertwine with the workforce from top-level university engineering of any kinds. And this intertwining then leads to the top innovation potential, not only in big companies, but particularly in small and medium enterprises. So the engineer who has studied at high school and university only, when he comes out of his education at the age of 27, he normally does not know how a plug works even, or how you most practically go to develop that one. But the people who have gone to professional education and training, the 2/3 of the young people, they know how to do that and they find a job, and they will teach them the engineers how to do that. So that's the way this fabric works together. And the backbone of these small and medium enterprises then formed by citizens who spent their teenage years not in a high school but in a vocational professional education. However, they can then continue also studying later on. So it is a very transparent system where people can continue and go to university later after their very practical experience they made as a youngster. I come to my fourth point, the crucial nexus between public and private sector. Government is the main funder of fundamental research, but does not define specific research topics. Indeed, our federal constitution guarantees, I quote, freedom of research and teaching, in Article 20. So in practice, the government-funded Swiss National Science Foundation enjoys total freedom in the selection criteria and funding decisions they make. It's not the government telling them where to do research. And with such level of autonomy, universities then attract talented scientists from all over the world, thereby further boosting Switzerland's innovation capabilities and international cooperation. 55% of PhD students in Switzerland are not Swiss, so more than half of them. And 50% of all professors in Switzerland are not Swiss. So to further ensure the country's appeal to brilliant minds, the cost of world-class education remains modest, and fees for international students are the same as for Swiss citizens in our two federal universities. You just have to apply and you have to pass the exams, of course. So why did I focus so much on the framework? The role of the private sector moving inside that framework of the companies when it comes to innovation in Switzerland is crucial. Switzerland provides the fertile grounds for companies to innovate and actually leaves most of the spending for research and development to the private sector. Two-thirds of all research and development activities in Switzerland are financed and implemented by private industries. The pharmaceutical sector is by far the highest driver of research and development, with about 40% of total investments. But it's still only one. Apart from that, you have all the small companies, medium companies who are very specialized in one technology, but they are the best in the world, and with their 50 or 70 employees, they do just that. Just 10 days ago, I got to know a Swiss company here in Bangkok at the ProPack conference or foire. And what they do, what they live on, that family company, is just a software and a camera. And the software and the camera, they're there to check about the taps of bottles. So in high specialized areas where you have pharmaceutical industries and the bottles must be sealed properly, you use then that kind of automatic software with the camera, costing $15,000 per camera with the software in order to control that. And they sell it to China, they sell it worldwide, and they're the best, but only in this. And it's a very, very small Swiss company. And I asked them, well, how do you make sure that your software is not copied in China when you sell it throughout the world? And they say nowadays technology can ensure, in fact, that their software is not copied, so they can sell the next better version the year thereafter. And although being a very small company, they make very good money from that very innovative way of dealing with their own products. A considerable part of innovation of the commercial exploitation of new knowledge is driven by small and medium enterprises, as mentioned. Many of you might have heard of huge multinational corporations, Roche, Novartis, Nestlé, but the Swiss economy is mainly powered by SMEs. They account for 99% of companies and two-thirds of the jobs in the countries. Two-thirds of the jobs in Switzerland are not big companies, but small ones. In comparison to other European countries, the SMEs are exceptionally innovative and internationally competitive. Let me quote a second example of a highly specialized entrepreneur inventing and selling new medical devices with a company of less than 20 employees even. When that company sells a new expensive product, for instance, to put insulin in the body in a very specialized manner at home, etc., in many cases, they can do so for 7 to 12 months only. Why? Because after 11 months, some competitor will have copied the device and sell it for half the price. So what I said for the software, it does not go for every device. Some devices, they just can't be copied. So how can the company survive? This means that while they sell one product, the development of the next one needs to be in the pipeline already in the research and development of that company to replace the older product as soon as it is copied. And only by doing so successfully, the high salaries in Switzerland, the highest in the world in fact, can be paid and the company can survive. You need to be on the forefront of the highest technology if you want to pay such a high salary in a company. The president of the Zurich Federal Institute for Technology, one of the top 10 universities in the world, according to Anglo-Saxon ranking, once said that by the time he becomes aware of a new trend, as the head of the institute, it is 1 year too late. And by the time politicians become aware of it, it is 5 years too late. So this is why the Federal Institute of Technology is driven by the researchers themselves. What is valid for innovative industries goes for universities as well. The bottom-up approach is a key factor for rapid reaction and dynamic development. I come to my fifth and last point. Ladies and gentlemen, let me finish by presenting one last principle of the Swiss educational and economic system, a high degree of openness and permeability. That principle is important for Switzerland in its international environment, free trade, free movement of persons, experts, but this is equally important in the effective development of professional careers, careers of young people, of your colleagues back in Switzerland. The 2/3 of Swiss teenagers who rather follow a vocational professional education than going to high school or college, they know that they can take up climbing the academic ladder again, whenever they want to. So they can stay in their profession for a few years, but then, as mentioned previously in a concrete example, these young professionals can, at some point in their 20s or 30s, decide to continue their lifelong learning at the technical university and become engineers. And they will be engineers with an unbeaten practical knowledge on different levels of the company which will employ them later. So this is how the intertwining between academia and industries, which is so essential for innovation, actually is a part of the social fabric in Switzerland. And that element of the social fabric that people don't go longer to school but prefer to be a proud practitioner first, and then maybe later on go to university again to continue at school when they're older, that kind of element is part of a local culture as well, of course, which can probably not be translated easily into a global recipe. I thank you very much for your attention, and I will stick around for a moment. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them later on. Thank you so much for your attention, and I wish particularly the young people all the best in their future career. Sabatik krab.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your presence and the knowledge that you have shared with us. His Excellency Mr. Predo Schwalen, once again the Ambassador of Switzerland to Thailand. Right now, this